Stephanie Beaumont, coming to you from Cape Spear, Newfoundland. Well, thanks. And I mean, are you all with here? No.
Let's pause for a moment and remember I'm in the back seat with Alan Doyle.
So you know that one of the cars
Is that true?
Yes.
Yes, to land this Mr. Walter Gretzky. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm thrilled standing beside you.
Wow. Take two. I'll just go ahead and pinch me. Go on now. They're crafted twin 48-foot wooden schooners, the traditional kind. Hi, I'm Stephanie Beaumont. Welcome to See and Be Seen, the show that celebrates all the people, places, and things that make the 4 Atlantic provinces so very special. From Nova Scotia to New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island to Newfoundland and Labrador, we take you to where the action is. And on this special edition, we're celebrating songwriters. Albert Einstein said true art is characterized by an irresistible urge in the creative artist. That urge is strong on Canada's east coast, and the music made along the Great Atlantic shore has been embraced the world over. So for the next half hour, we'll chat with some of the region's most awarded songwriters, and some new artists too. We'll learn of their process, talk about their hits, and gain some wonderful insight into their creative minds. Beginning with the pride of Prince Edward Island, an artist whose strong poetry and stirring narratives about this great country garnered an induction into the Order of Canada. From children's books to the big screen to outer space, his ability to meld music and lyrics have been celebrated around the globe and beyond. Having performed for huge audiences both nationally and abroad, how fortunate for us to have caught up with him at home for an intimate songwriter circle, which as it turns out is one of his favorite kind of shows.
I love songwriter circles because you get to present the songs the way they were born, they're stripped down and naked and unadorned.
Right.
But it's fun because you never really know what's going to happen sometimes, especially depending on who's on stage with you. You can have a lot of fun, or you can have people jumping in your songs, and a whole new interpretation of a song can be created on the spot, and that's what makes them so much fun.
Take my heart and say they're just pieces of
It's not like there's a rehearsal for these things. You just kind of show up and you're familiar with the music, but what happens if you're not?
Well, usually there's always a couple of guys or girls in the circle that are pretty intuitive, and even if it's a song you've never heard before, you kind of get a sense of where you might be able to add to it or not. And it's not necessarily to always add to it. It's not always a sing-along, of course.
Right.
Sometimes a song just feels like this should be intimate, he should sing this alone, or she should sing this alone. But other songs, you can see their spaces. Okay, this song could use a little help, and maybe there's a violin player or whatever there. Myself, I love playing harmonica if I can.
Yes.
If I hear a song that could use a little harp in there, and I think it can help, because I don't get to play it that much in my own band, because I usually... Well, I got, these fiddlers and guitar players taking all my solos in my own band.
Can you imagine it?
I know.
You should pull rank.
I'm gonna start pulling rank. I'm not gonna let that happen.
You
so
shouldn't. You're one of the top 10 East Coast songs of all time. Peter's Dream.
Of all time, that's pretty crazy. Eh?
It's amazing. Well, it's a beautiful song. Now, how did
we're locked in? Nobody else is getting on.
Can you imagine? When are the T-shirts being made? That's what I want to know. I want one of those. Lennie Gallant, how did Peter's Dream happen? What?
That song was written. It was right around the height of the fisheries crisis, and a couple of friends of mine we were having a drink down at my dad's cabin and right on the shore in Rustico Harbor.
Beautiful spot.
Beautiful spot.
Yes.
Eric McEwen was there, and my friend Paul Backier and my ex-partner Kathy Grant. We were there, and we were having a few drinks, and we just got talking about the state of the fishery in the East Coast, what was happening and how that was going to affect so many small towns and so forth, and ranting and raving a little bit about the whole thing and who was to blame and all that.
Right.
And they left, and it was kind of odd. The next morning I got up, and I guess a lot of that discussion was still percolating throughout the night, and I was listening to a couple of boats head out to sea, and I got up, and the song just spilled onto the page. It was one of those gift songs, really, that I wrote it very quickly, didn't change a word, and that rarely, if ever, happens.
Yes.
Last night I dreamed that I was sailing on the Sea of Galilee. We cast our nets upon the water, Jesus, oh, the man went
happy. And now are you writing all the time? Like, how does it, would you wake up now and do you just go, I'm going to write a song today? Like, how does that work?
No, it doesn't work quite that way anymore. It's a little harder to find the time. I have a 9-year-old now, and so I like spend a lot of time with her. And just when you come back home off the road, sometimes it's hard to manage the time to find enough space to write and that. So it's a little trickier.
Has she been an inspiration?
Oh yeah, of course.
What songs?
Well, I wrote a song on my last album that was based on something she said when she was 4 years old. I was working down in Nashville, and I used to call her every day. And one day she said, "Oh, Daddy," she said, "you're like the flowers in my heart." And I go there whenever you're not around. I said, "What did you say?" She was 4 years old. I said, "What did you say?" She said, "You're like the flowers in my heart," and that's where I go. So I had to write the songs. So she gets the songwriting credit.
Does she?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, Lennie Gallant. That's the best story ever. And talk about your co-writes. This past year, 2 of Pictou County, Nova Scotia's finest scored the ECMA for Song of the Year. We chatted with Dave Gunning to get the inside scoop on this award-winning collaboration and his chemistry with pal George Canyon.
George and I have less in common than a lot of the writers that I work with.
Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a country singer.
Right.
You know, so I tend to have more in common with James Keelahan, David Francie, and Jamie Robinson, who produces my records. A lot of the guys that have more of that sensitivity when it comes to writing lyrics suitable for more folky stuff.
Okay.
I'm a fan of George's, and he's my brother, and I love him, and I love working with him. We have the comfort level with George is just that we have so much history together. So we could kind of get together and write. It gives me a chance to write stuff that I wouldn't necessarily record. It's more country stuff, but every now and then we come up with something that I would record. So it's these hands obviously.
I was going to say, talk about that. How did that start?
That started out as a country song.
Did it?
So the song the version that you know is very different from the song that George and I wrote. The song that George and I wrote was called Some Hands, and it was a country love song about a couple. And I wrote a different chorus and wrote a different bridge and kept the same verses. So the
evolution. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
I call dibs. Like, how did that work?
No, I just gave him a 50-50 co-write, which is ethically the right thing to do because all the verses were kept. And send it to him and say, "Hey man, I hope you like this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna registered it again with SOCAN and as a 50-50 co-write.
Right.
And but he has recorded the song Some Hands, which I love. I love the song that he recorded.
Wow,
But it's but it's a love song, and the song that I recorded, These Hands, is more of a Pete Seeger, more of a peace song than a love
it's an anthem.
song.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's easy to sing along with.
What shall I do with these hands of mine? What shall I do with these hands of mine?
When you sing a song, I think of how it would be a movie. Do you ever think of that extension or no?
Yeah, I wrote a song with James Keelahan called Before the Morning Sun, and it's a Western ballad, and it was written in the style that you might write a storyboard for a movie for. It's very descriptive, and it almost describes the shots that you would for if you were to shoot a movie for it, and
Right.
it was just kind of fun to write in that style.
Any aspirations? Should we look forward to the big
Oh,
screen?
I don't know. Well, you see, maybe George Canyon could star in it. He's been in a lot of movies,
I know.
So
But you're very photogenic. Hey, Dave Gunning?
not. I don't like to brag, and so you're making me very awkward.
No,
right
you
now.
look great.
Yeah.
You do. Still ahead on CNB Scene, we'll talk inspirational spots. From the seaside to the wooded forest to a city bakery, it seems every singer-songwriter has their favorite. Plus, we'll talk with Mega Award-winning artist Alan Doyle about what he's writing now. But first, another Doyle, Miss Damhnait Doyle, who for the last 17 years has been creating amazing music for her solo projects, with her band Shay, or with her current group, The Heartbroken. I started at the beginning, though, with one of my favorites, her first big hit, Another California Song. I think I've always just been a storyteller. I have this natural compulsion inside of myself to tell stories. Some of them, or most of them, are my own stories or things, you know, that happen inside of my own head. But others are stories of other people that don't necessarily get a chance or the opportunity to tell them. And those are the ones that really, like, stick with you.
Was there a fella in California?
There were probably a couple, but I'm happily married now, so I've forgotten all about that.
Is that true? Do you let them go? Like, they're...
You know what? I don't actually even remember the impetus of writing that song. I have absolutely no idea. I mean, I really don't know what that song really was about.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, if I'm a part of writing a song, you know, it will be something that I can't get out any other way,
yes,
except for writing it, and then it goes away. That song I wrote with Gordie Sampson,
yes,
who's a brilliant writer,
yes,
and probably in that session, like, I'm the type of person when I'm writing with somebody who I think I have a lot to learn from, I don't really necessarily speak up quite as much. Like, I like to suck all of the knowledge out of somebody that I possibly can do, which is my biggest advice to young songwriters, is to do that. If you're in a room with somebody who is a much more accomplished writer than you are, it's just like, shut up with your own ideas and
Happy Baby. I mean,
If this is it for me, baby, that's just fine. I'm not looking anymore.
I remember that specifically.
I love that song. That song is like my theme song, right? But how did that start? Because that was everybody got together on that, right?
Yeah, you know what? It was myself and Kim and Tara and Jay Joyce who produced our record, who now is just won a million Grammys, and like, he's the biggest producer in the world.
Yeah.
But we were sitting in Kim's kitchen, and we were sitting around the island, and we were just having this really frank, practical discussion about women and how you feel about yourself. And it's when you're at your moments where you're like, God, that you're like, screw it.
Right.
I'm amazing.
Right.
And I think together the three of us really kind of manifested that. We manifested that idea for ourselves, but it was also like a really fun opportunity to go, oh, there's three of us. Let's get ready together and get dressed up. Now I'm in a band with three guys. It's like, I'll be lucky if I brush my hair some days, you know? But yeah, that was a special song. But that song I hated. In fact, I said to the label, if that song is released as a single, I don't know if I want to promote this record.
Stop it.
Hated
Damhnait Doyle.
Hated it. I thought it was way too commercial, way too pop, and not representative of what the three of us did. But that, that just goes to show you that and I've learned that lesson now, once you write it, and once it's produced in a way that you think sounds great, you have to release it and let other people judge. Like, you can't control that stuff.
Speaking of releases, Dab's band The Heartbroken is putting the finishing touches on writing songs for their sophomore project, due out later this year. Now, when Damhnait said Gordie Sampson was a brilliant songwriter, she wasn't kidding. The Big Pond, Nova Scotia native hangs his hat in Music City, USA these days, writing hits for country superstars like Faith Hill, Keith Urban, Miranda Lambert, Leanne Rimes, Rascal Flatts, Martina McBride, and of course, Carrie Underwood.
Jesus, take the wheel, sing it from my hands, 'cause I can't do this on my own.
Jesus Take the Wheel, a song he co-wrote with Hillary Lindsey and Brett James, was ranked number 4 on CMT's 40 Greatest Songs of the Decade. It took home the 2005 ASCAP Award, the ACM Award, and the Grammy Award for Best Country Song of the Year. Gordie's got another co-write with Hillary Lindsey on the charts right now, and this time the pair team up with Ryan Tyndall for Dierks Bentley's new hit, There Ain't Enough Bourbon in Kentucky.
There ain't enough bourbon in Kentucky for me to forget you.
That's cool. Cool, too, is the Gordie Sampson Song Camp, founded on his home island of Cape Breton back in 2010. Every year since, Gordie has hosted the camp with the mission of providing an opportunity to young songwriters to develop artist skills and build relationships with their peers, making our province a more vibrant and sustainable place for youth in the music business. That's awesome. And one artist who's come into his own as a result and won a Music Nova Scotia Award to boot is this young fella.
Stay up all night, hear stories in the song. When you come back home, there'll be open arms.
ladies and gentlemen, Carlton Stone. The Songwriters Camp, how did you even get hooked up with that, and what has it brought to you as a songwriter?
I got asked by Gordy a week or a couple days before the first camp started, just by chance, kind of, or because he liked me. And at the time, I had, a handful of songs for a new record, no management, no kind of industry stuff happening. Was kind of confused. And then,
are you confident in your music when you show up there? Like, what do you think? What do you like? I've got hits. Like, how does that work?
Not really. I don't know. The first year, no one really knew what they were getting into. The 6 of us that kind of got asked for the first year. So yeah, you just kind of go and feel it out, and luckily it worked really well.
And you met some great friends.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah. Dylan Guthrow and Bria McKinnon, who both play in my band now, and Mo Kenny, who also plays with me and Dylan. We're all just best friends.
Yeah. And so that chemistry is translated into great music.
Absolutely, yeah.
But not always do you have that chemistry. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yes, that would be a fair assessment. Oh, hey, look.
The cow now weighing in on disgruntled songwriting sessions. Okay, but what do you do in that case? What happens?
Sometimes you just have to kind of get through it.
Yeah.
I've been in different writing situations in wherever, Toronto or Nashville or LA, and you just kind of know that it's not really working.
Right.
Do
you pull the chute, or do you stick it out? Or how does that work?
Usually stick it out, or you kind of do the old, oh, this is a good start, why don't we just finish it next time, and blah, blah, blah. And usually the people they know, everyone's a professional, and sometimes you click with people and sometimes you don't.
That's life.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Okay, now let me just ask you, because he's a whippersnapper, right? As far as the industry goes. How many songs would you say you've penned up until this point?
Well, I had 120 between when I finished the last album and this one.
Is that true?
That's true. So, but before then, probably close to 200, I would say, in my life.
Mother of mercy. And now you show up for a session. What do you have? Would you walk in with your 10 best, your 20 best? What do you do?
Usually I just have a bunch of titles or lyrics in my phone, or little voice memos of musical ideas. So that cow loves us. So yeah, it's different every time, kind of.
Yeah.
Just kind of feel it out and whatever.
There you go. I think that was a C.
Yeah, I think so too.
And on that note, it's time to take a break. But remember this scene, it contains your TV free stuff clue for this episode. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Jenn Grant, and I'm a singer-songwriter from Nova Scotia. And today I'm going to tell you about where I get my inspiration. It's actually a camper trailer. Because every songwriter needs a place where they can have quiet and peace and feel like they're alone to write music, or at least I do. And there's been a lot of music happening in our house for the past several years because my husband is a record producer. So I bought this trailer because I thought maybe he would like to work in the trailer, and that didn't happen. So the trailer just sort of sat here, and we're building a recording studio now. And I never really wanted to come in here because it was cold and everything, and it was winter time, but then spring came and it kind of started calling my name. So I came out here one day and I made a big pot of tea and brought it out in this thermos, and I brought some beautiful pillows and blankets, and I've written a whole bunch of songs, more than a dozen in here the last month, and it's actually been an amazing refuge to have anywhere to go. And it's got some ugly curtains that have a pattern circa something, 1991. I don't really like this pattern, but I don't sew or anything. But I do have a sewing machine, so I might learn how to use the sewing machine and then make new curtains and paint this camper a different color. But for now, it's fine how it is. So I'll just show you outside. It's kind of dark in here right now, but it comes with this labradoodle, Charlie, and it comes with another labradoodle named Bird, but she's busy right now. Anyway, it's pretty awesome, and I wrote a record in here, and I'm gonna record it in the fall. Up the road, that's where the studio is gonna be. Right, Charlie? Birdie! Anyway, as I said, she's super busy right now. But I hope that you liked that, and I just think, yeah, I can feel inspired when I have somewhere to go. That's where I go. Oh, before I go, this is my songwriting secretary. Her name's Bird.
Aw, she's the very knees of the bee, that Jenn Grant. Great thanks and great news we'll have new music from her this fall. Another singer-songwriter set to release a CD this September is Music PEI winning artist Meaghan Blanchard. One look at her Cool People profile and we knew where to meet her for coffee in her native Charlottetown. Turns out it's a tasty source of inspiration too.
I pick songs that I know that people will feel something from a lot of the time, and then like one of the songs on the album is called 7 Nut Pie, which is a song I wrote about a pie that they serve here at Leonard's Cafe. That's just ridiculous.
7 Nut Pie?
Yeah. So I wrote it here because I worked here, and I remember my first day on the job, I came in and then he's showing me around, my boss, and he's like, and here's the cakes and the pastries, and here we've got turtle cheesecake and carrot cake and 7 Nut Pie. And I just heard this like bum 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 chicka-dum chicka-dum chicka-dum, and I just wrote this ridiculous song.
I mean, I love the first song. Is fantastic, and it's a song you wrote.
Yeah, a song I wrote.
Used to walk on by, yeah, you taught me what it was to cry when you used to walk on by. Hey.
You might say, I know that face. I know that face. You were Anne, yes?
I was, yeah. How did you know?
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. You got that going for you.
I know, yeah. It's easy to get a job on PEI when you're a redhead, so.
But Avonlea Village is a place that you're very familiar with.
I know. Well, it was amazing, too, because we were looking for a place to shoot, because initially we were going to do it on a street in the country, but I was like, okay, well, I'll have to call, the police and make sure that no one drives there.
Right.
But I just thought, I was like, well, Avonlea Village isn't even open yet, and that's a perfect set. It's like a full set, and all the houses are miniature, like they're smaller sized homes, so they're mini homes, and I was like, this is perfect. And the cameraman was just like, it's amazing, like you can get the tops of the houses in a shot, like I've never seen this before. And no one would know the difference unless you were right there. So but yeah, it was beautiful. I worked there for 4 years, and it was
a full circle moment.
It was, and it smelled the same. Like as soon as I walked in, I was like, it just felt like home, and I don't know if you've ever had a job where it was the best job I've ever for a kid. It was just perfect. I mean, you just get to sing and dance and play with kids all day long, and I just loved it. And I think my music career started to take off a little, and I was so much busier, so I couldn't do it anymore, but it's just nice to go back. It felt like coming home.
A talented lady, a tasty latte. I could sit at lovely Leonard's all day, but I've got work to do. Time to dole out a whole lot of TV free stuff. This is your chance to win Meaghan's CD before it's released. She's Gonna Fly could be yours, along with Gordie Sampson's Almost Beautiful, Lennie Gallant's If We Had Fire, The Heartbroken's Tonight Tonight, and Carlton Stone's self-titled CD, if you can answer the following question correctly. What kind of animal interrupted my interview with Carlton Stone? Once you know it, hit the website. It's www.cnbc.com. Click on the TV free stuff box and submit your answer. Good luck to you, and we'll be right back with the awesome Alan Doyle.
Nothing's coming to me. But you know what? One of music's most celebrated songs was created walking along a beach in about 20 minutes right here on the Gentle Island.
That's sand-strolling songwriter Mr. Gene McClellan and the chart-topping hit Snowbird.
Spread your tiny wings and fly away.
While it would go on to be recorded by everyone from Loretta Lynn to Elvis Presley, it remains Anne Marie's signature song, the one that launched her career to superstardom, to where it remains some 44 years later. It was 20 years ago that our next guest became the frontman for one of Canada's most successful bands. And over those 2 decades, Alan Doyle has penned some great big hits for Great Big Sea. This past year, he released his first ever solo CD, Boy on a Bridge, for which the Newfoundlander wrote or co-wrote every single song. You might know this Renaissance man to have acted in movies and shows, but did you also know he had written tunes for the screen, both big and small? Oh yeah.
Well, 20 years, so much has happened. Just last year alone with Boy on a Bridge.
Yeah.
Hello. Huge success.
Yeah, it did well. So grateful that it was
movie.
received so well. Yeah, it did movies too.
And now a book. So just share, what's happening with this book now?
Oh, I'm about halfway through writing a memoir kind of book, basically, about the story so far, really. And it's a bit of a learning experience for me. It takes a long time to write a book. Did you know that?
Well,
I wasn't so. I figured it'd be like.
No one's asked me to write it.
I figured it would take like maybe twice as long as it takes to read one. That's what I figured, So you put in a good hard weekend and you got it done. I mean, I'm used to cramming for everything.
Right.
Like I got an English degree from Mon. I didn't you studied on the way to school on the bus.
Right.
But it's a bit of a discipline.
I was gonna say
that
a different
I'm not used to.
Okay.
Yeah, because
they say set aside some time every day. Are you doing that?
Yeah, I don't. I'm learning.
Okay.
Because it's a real weird discipline for me because my attention deficit disorder doesn't allow me to sit in. It's why Twitter works so well for me because that's the way my brain works.
Right.
It works in 140 characters at a time, whatever it is. But I really am enjoying the discoveries that I'm making going through. It's like, oh wow, look at that.
We're celebrating 20 years. We're celebrating a huge success for you. I mean, this year you got a movie coming out. Is that right? When does Winter's Tale come out?
Oh, Winter's Tale. I don't know to be sure. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in around Christmas time.
Okay.
But I honestly don't know the answer.
Any more acting?
Oh, I don't know. I've never looked for any of it. It just sort of comes.
That's.
I feel terrible with my actor buddies because they hate my guts. No. And I don't blame them one bit because they go like, I don't know, how'd you get that movie? They phoned me and said, how'd you get on that show? Well,
people starving.
My buddy asked me to go. I go down there, And seriously, I have friends. I mean, it's just one of the things. I have friends who do movies for a living.
Yes.
And whenever they see a chance for me to do something with them, they.
And you love that. It's
awesome.
Fun, right?
I also have friends that do TV shows for a living, and they ask me to. And I'm grateful for that.
Season? Can you tell me?
I can't tell you yet. No. Honestly, because I don't know.
Then they come at you with a sack of hammers.
Yeah.
To establish
yeah.
Hey.
But I also have I also have friends that own restaurants, and I help them too, and I do stuff with them.
You were searching tables.
Yeah.
If you follow Alan Doyle on Twitter, you would know. Did you buy those tables, those big crazy coil things?
Oh no, that's for Todd's new restaurant called Mallard Cottage, which is going to be awesome. Yeah. I'm just lucky to have different friends that do different things in the arts and who, when they find a place for me, are often nice enough to ask me to do something.
You have a good life.
I'm pretty lucky.
In 5 years, tell me where you are. And that's the last question I'm going to ask you.
Now.
Yes, sir.
Oh, God, I'd be happy to be here. And I'm honest. If nothing in my life changed between now and 5 years from now, I'd be totally content. I bet it will.
Yeah.
But, this is why I'm so lucky. I don't want to live anywhere else than I live. I don't want to be married to anyone else that I'm not married to. I don't want a different house than I own. Yeah. I don't want a different kid than the one I got. Yeah. I don't want a different job than the one I got. Man. So who's luckier than me,
Alan Doyle. You rock. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks for waiting.
If you'd like to watch this show again or see any other episode of C&B Scene, head to www.bellalliant.net. They're all there on demand. And be sure to head to www.cnbscene.com. We're celebrating 3 years online with an awesome contest. We've partnered up with Delta Hotels, and you could be staying in style at any one of their Atlantic area properties. Hit the website for all the details.
That's going to do it for this special Songwriters edition of C&B Scene. We could have done a mini-series. I'm telling you what, I'm going to lobby the station. Maybe get more time. There's so much great music on the East Coast of Canada. So many wonderful songwriters to celebrate. We'll see you next time. Your favorite East Coast song ever. Go.
The Four Marys.
The Four Marys.
Yeah, last night there were 4 Marys. This night there'll be but 3.
Okay. I do know that song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Peter's Dream.
I was going to say. Or These Hands.
Or These Hands.
Right. Or, I love California.
I love California.
Do you? I don't mean the state, I mean the
yeah.
song.
Yeah.
She doesn't remember writing that.
Well, that's a common thread among a lot of musicians as well, that they don't remember when or how a song came about.
Really?
Not all of them, but a lot. Yeah, sure.
How is that possible? Isn't that like a...
Wine? Yeah.